What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece, and it's time for a video that needs to be made, you cucks. So the rumors are going around that the cuckster himself, Cucky Rhodes, might be coming back and might eventually turn heel. Like we're supposed to give our rat's ass if Cucky turns heel or not. First of all, John Cena turned heel, so every other heel turn automatically becomes less impactful. If John Cena can turn heel, then obviously Cucky Rhodes can turn heel. Cucky Rhodes is not this perpetual face. He has had many heel runs. In fact, I would argue that the vast majority of his career was him being a heel. He basically had that one face run where him and Goldust won the tag team titles, but beyond that, he was a heel getting his ass beat by Stephen Amell from Green Arrow or whatever, you know what I mean? So a lot of people think, in my opinion, incorrectly, that turning the cuckster himself into a heel is somehow going to, quote-unquote, save his character. It's going to, quote-unquote, improve his character. Well, the hater has news for you. It will do absolutely none of those things because Cody Rhodes sucks, all right? It's really that simple. Whether he's a face, whether he's a heel, if he's a tweener, if he's The Undertaker, it doesn't matter. He's still Cucky Rhodes. Furthermore, if Cucky Rhodes were to turn heel, why would anyone be surprised by this, right? It seems that no matter what the good guy does, the bad guy is just allowed to screw them over again and again. It makes much more sense, for example, in my opinion, for LA Knight to be a heel instead of a face, because as a face, he just gets his ass beat by 3 fat Samoans. But as a heel, maybe he can find his own 2 or 3 fat Samoans to neutralize that. Maybe Cody Rhodes can do the same. You know, in terms of turning someone heel, there has to be a reason, a logical reason. And this has been my biggest issue with the recent, I guess it's not that recent, but the relatively recent John Cena heel turn, right? The reason of why someone is turning heel cannot just be because it will get the people talking. There has to be more than that. Obviously, the fundamental philosophy of get people talking is sound, and people should go along with it. However, within reason, motherfucks, within reason. We don't have the energy up in this mug to effectively find ourselves where we find ourselves. You know, the reality is we need, for better or for worse, explanations. Now, if you want to get the people talking, be my guest. Who am I to tell you not to do that? You should do that. If you are, in fact, a good entertainment company, people should be talking about you already. Now, with all that being said, that cannot be the only reason. You have to weave that into the storyline. You have to integrate that into what's happening on TV. It can't just be some bullshit excuse of Cena has felt abused for 25 years or whatever the fuck, 15 years, and then now, for no reason, he decides to turn heel, right? Well, why didn't he do it last year? Why didn't he just turn heel and cost Cody the world title? Why wasn't he pissed off at the direction Roman Reigns was taking the company, right? I mean, last year he was, but now he's not. Things have to make sense. So what would be the logic of turning the cuckster heel? What is it? He's pissed off? Like, everyone should be pissed off, you know? The heels are pissed off because they're heels, and the faces are pissed off because they have to deal with the heels. But that's what makes wrestling wrestling. It can't just be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn wrestling for no reason. You know, they would be fired if it weren't for that. The only thing they bring to the table is their long-running rivalry. That's why they always get paired up together like cucks. You know what I mean? And that's why nobody gives a flying rat's ass about either of them, you know? But that's neither here nor there. The real fundamental question is, people are overplaying this, like, potential Cody Rhodes heel turn, and they have been for a long time. They think it's going to be this amazing and compelling situation. But why would it be? Cucks this? In what world is this going to be something that is compelling or interesting? You know, personally, I don't think it is at all. But what do I know? I'm just the hater up in this mug. So, the idea that it's going to save Cody Rhodes and his career trajectory is completely misguided, right? Cody Rhodes is not this diverse range performer that can play this, like, amazing heel anymore. I mean, he did a good job with, like, the Though, well, actually, I guess it's possible. You know what I mean? Like he did a good job with the I'm not good looking enough, like wear a mask, run. That was pretty fun. But that was like a mid card situation. You know what I mean? I mean, in my opinion, it was an undercard situation that had the potential to turn him into a mid carder as it did. That was interesting. But in the main event, you have to like run the show. So as you can notice by just watching wrestling, all the main event heels are not heels. Like, I mean, they're heels, but they're not like heel characters, I should say, right? So you have, for example, Drew McIntyre. He's been a heel for years now. I don't even remember when he turned heel. It's just that one day he did. But it had absolutely no bearing on anything that he does. He's just a heel. He's just a bad guy for no reason. It's never explained why he is this piece of shit, He's just a piece of shit. Whereas in the past, heels had a motivation. For example, the greatest heel of all time, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, right? His motivation was, this is my company, and I'm going to run it the way I want to run it to the T. Meaning that even the alleged situation that involves unpredictability, at least in kayfabe, of who the champion is going to be, Vince wanted control over that too. That was the character. This was central to his character, right? The Rock becoming the corporate champion, he turned heel because he wanted the money and the power, right? Now, if Cody Rhodes does that, well, I got news for you, pal. You already had that opportunity, and you didn't take advantage of it. As a matter of fact, you got so wrecked that The Rock didn't even come to WrestleMania and Cena turned on your ass. So the only way that Cody's heel turn, in my personal opinion, has the potential to be good. I don't think it can ever be amazing, but it can be good if the entire storyline is written around it. Now, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, you want to write the entire storyline around Cody Rhodes, well, be my guest. I'm not here to, dictate what storylines are and aren't written. But think about what that would entail. That would entail that the end game of the storyline is just Cody Rhodes turning heel. Ooh. You know what I mean? The problem is, he then has to carry forward with this heel character. Meaning that this heel character must necessarily be interesting. If he goes the way of, let's say, again, Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns, where they're just heels for no reason. Like, the entire Bloodline storyline is extremely stupid because they could just do all that without being dicks, And it's basically like they're just dicks for the sake of being dicks. You know what I mean? Like, Roman Reigns could just get his cousins, the Usos, to be in his stable, and they can try to win everything, as they did, but through not nefarious means. They don't need Paul Heyman at all. In the context of kayfabe, Paul Heyman does fucking nothing for the Bloodline, right? What did Roman Reigns need Paul Heyman for? To tell him, good job, keep going? To tell him, oh, maybe the Usos should go for the tag team titles? These are things that a retarded child could tell him. You see what I'm saying? So that's another heel turn that, in my opinion, has failed. People are like, oh, Roman Reigns' heel turn was great. No, what happened was, and this is something that needs to be called out, right? The Contrarian fans, they refuse to cheer for the face, and they want to cheer for the heel. So in comparison, it looks like Roman Reigns, despite doing the exact same thing as a face and as a heel, wrestling his matches and not saying one word, for some reason people are like, wow, the character work. It's not the character work. It's just that you don't want to cheer for faces, And that's the problem. Now, granted, there is something to be said about a face making you want to cheer for them, Like, for example, The Rock made you want to cheer for him because he was so cool. Stone Cold, same thing. John Cena, maybe not as much. People booed him because he became stale and boring, right? But another thing happened during that time that nobody wants to talk about. And the primary reason why people continuously cheered The Rock and Austin was because their characters and their personalities were at the forefront. You understand me? By contrast, when you have someone like Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes, their character is completely irrelevant. What is Cody Rhodes' character? Hell, what is John Cena's character? John Cena's character, he's Hulk Hogan 2.0. Cody is Hulk Hogan 3.0. We've seen this before. But the problem is, because they have the title for like 1,000 years, Roman Reigns has the title for 3 years, who the hell needs a character? Your character is you're the perpetual WWE champion. But then what happens when you lose that motherfucker? right? Then you become Roman Reigns, the mid-card jobber. Let's be real. He's a complete nobody at this point. He comes in, he gets his ass beat by Seth Rollins, who he should be plowing through. He gets his ass handed to him for weeks at a time by Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa and the Tongans, who he should be plowing through. He needs help from CM Punk, who he should be plowing through. And now he's gone again. You know? Same thing's going to happen with Cookie, right? That's why people are clamoring for this heel turn. They're like, well, I don't want the same thing to happen to Cookie. Well, then Cookie should have listened to the hater who was saying this for years, that Cookie Rhodes in AEW, which is the exact same version that he brought forth to the E, Cookie Rhodes is a problem. He has a problem. The problem is he's boring and stale, and you can only make him interesting by centering the story around him, just like Roman Reigns. You never had to center a story around Stone Cold. Stone Cold was the story in everything he did. He could team up with Triple H, and he's the center of the story. He could wrestle The Undertaker, he's the center of the story. Same thing with The Rock, maybe to a lesser degree. But you understand what I'm getting at, right? You don't have to create scenarios for people like The Rock and Stone Cold. But for people like Cookie, you have to. Like, I'll leave you with this. In my personal opinion, the most memorable part of CM Punk's like long-ass title reign, there's two, right? There's him dropping the title against The Rock, which was memorable for other reasons, such as The Rock is champion again, and CM Punk can go to hell. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, the other most memorable moment, I don't even think it was the John Cena feud, because he wasn't really the champion during that time, you know? Because it was disputed afterwards because Cena won the other title from, Rey Mysterio. In my opinion, the other memorable part, in fact, the only other part that I remember, was his feud with Triple H / Kevin Nash, right? You need to bring Kevin Nash out of retirement to make CM Punk interesting. He is not inherently interesting. And that's the problem. Neither is Cookie. These are just random dudes. Everything that Cody was given these last few years, you could easily have just done it with Dolph Ziggler. You could easily just be like, all right, Dolph Ziggler's going to win the Rumble twice and become champion. They didn't. Who the fuck knows why? But they didn't. They decided to let his ass go instead, right? It's the same exact thing. They're the same exact character. If anything, Dolph Ziggler deserved it more because at the very end, Dolph Ziggler was a soldier who stayed in the company, number one. And two, they always gave Dolph Ziggler something. Every couple of years, he'd be in some semi-prominent position, right? Like, for example, in the Survivor Series with Team Cena versus Team Authority, right? Dolph Ziggler was it should have been Team Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was the star. He was the one that Sting saved. There was a lot going on there, but they didn't give it to him. And I'm not saying they should have. Dolph Ziggler also sucks. But you get what I'm getting at. What I'm pointing to here is that the person who's turning heel has to already be remarkable or interesting in one way or another. That's why, when they're not, like Drew McIntyre, you have to be told they're remarkable, or you have to be convinced that their turn is meaningful by something like Wade Barrett saying, oh, this new version of Drew McIntyre, I've never seen anything like this. Who the fuck cares if you've seen it? I've seen it, motherfucks. You might be retarded, Wade Barrett, because you've seen this guy for years doing the same thing. It's like Drew McIntyre is the only wrestler that just continuously just turns heel. He's a heel, and then they have to remind us that now it's a different version because they buried the previous version to hell. So with that being said, I am not bullish in particular about Cody Rhodes' return, nor am I bullish about his potential heel turn, right? The reality is he's going to come back, he's going to do the same old Cody shtick, right? And then he's probably going to beat Cena for the title at SummerSlam or something, right? That's probably what's going to happen. Maybe not at SummerSlam, maybe a little bit later, I guess, but SummerSlam would be an appropriate spot if you're going to do that. I mean, at this point, I think it's much more intelligent to just tell us what John Cena's last wrestling match is going to be, or at least the date, and then just build around that, because that's actually cool, because it's John Cena's last match. I don't want Cena to lose to Cookie, and then John Cena's last match is him versus I don't know, Andrade or some bullshit, you know what I mean? It won't be that, obviously, but you understand what I'm getting at. So, in summation, Cody Rhodes can kiss my ass. Nobody likes this guy. Nobody wants this guy back for real. People are just bored. Simple as that. You would much rather prefer someone better than him, cucks. Take care and go fuck your mothers up in this bitch.